dramatic it was, yeah, that really took me out of it. But anyway, we're not here to talk about it.
No. We're actually here to talk about Barbarian. Hello, hello, hello. And welcome to Pod of the Dead. I am your host, Nicholas, and with me, as always, are the two beautiful ladies, Stephanie and Natasha.
Hello.
On today's episode, we are talking about the 2022 film Barbarian. With its history, it came out last year and was kind of I don't want to say a sleeper hit, but it surprised a lot of people when it came out. It's the first time this director had directed a horror movie. He had only directed one other film prior to this, and I think it was about 10 years prior. But before we get into all of our history and stuff with it, let me fill you in on what this film is. Barbarian is a 2022 American horror thriller written and directed by Zach Kreger in his solo screen writing and directorial debut. It is produced by Aaron Mitchin, Ray Lee, Rafael Margulis. The film stars Georgina Campbell, Bill Skarsgård, and Justin Long. The plot sees a woman find out that the rental home she reserved has been accidentally double booked by a man, not knowing of a dark secret within the dwelling. So, what are your girls' history with this film prior to viewing it for the podcast?
I saw it one time on your recommendation, so this would have been my second time watching it.
Okay.
Yeah, and we watched it like right shortly after it came out, I think, at home, and I wasn't sure what to expect. Like, the trailer of that movie does not give anything away, really, and I was kind of surprised by that, and I didn't know much about the movie, so I'm pretty sure this was my second watch through.
Yeah, this would, I think, be my third viewing of it. I watched it with Steph, and then I believe I watched it once with Noelle while she was watching it with some friends in the living room one time. But my history with the writer and director go way back on this film, and actually didn't know that he was the one that made this. Zach Kreger is one of the founders, writers, and creators of the television show The Whitest Kids You Know that used to air on IFC back in the late aughts. And he basically wrote and directed a film with Trevor Moore, who passed away a few years ago, who was another person from The Whitest Kids You Know, and they made a movie called Miss March that got horrible reviews. It's like a sex comedy film, but I think it's actually super funny. But I find The Whitest Kids You Know a hilarious, absurd kind of show, and the movie kind of follows in its steps. And this movie is it's got the absurdity to it and everything, but it's not on its cover a comedy film.
No.
Is the guy from I Think You Should Leave also in The Whitest Kids You Know?
No,
it's not the same.
No, I believe
Okay.
he was from Saturday Night Live.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Same type of humor.
Yeah.
Is The Whitest Kids You Know the one clip that you made me watch?
Yeah,
this week?
I showed all of you the Abraham Lincoln assassination video. If you haven't seen this, just type in Whitest Kids You Know Abraham Lincoln on YouTube and watch the unedited version of it, and it is hilarious in my book.
It's not. It was not funny. He's like, "You're gonna love this. You're gonna watch this.
I did not
This is great."
say,
And I was
I did
like,
not say you're gonna love this. I said,
"Okay."
here's your director.
You gotta watch this.
Yeah, I was like, here's your director.
Oh, and he was like, "This is funny," and I was like, "Okay." So I went in and I watched it, and we were driving in the car, and I'm looking at this YouTube video, and I'm like, I did not laugh one time, and he's over here snickering in the driver's seat, just listening to it, and I'm like, this is not funny to me. So, and then that was just, I was like, well, who's our director? Which one? He was one that played Abraham Lincoln, but
yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. What'd you say, you dead motherfucker? What'd you say, string bean?
And I think knowing that that's the same guy really gave me some insight into some parts of Barbarian that I didn't necessarily like. The end of it, the monster in general.
Yeah. The end of it's the worst part of the whole movie, in my opinion.
I agree. Okay. It really goes off the rails.
Yeah.
All right. We'll throw up the spoiler warning right now so we can start giving the gush a little bit about this movie. Start kind of ruining it if you haven't seen it. We're going to go through it. We're also going to... Go ahead.
Go ahead, honey. No, go ahead.
We're also going to give some internet reviews on it and stuff. But before that, we do have a little thing to figure out here, and it is, what do you girls think the budget of this film was? How much money do you think that they made this film for?
Oh,
$4 million.
How about you, Steph?
Oh. Well, considering it has Bill Skarsgård in it and Justin Long, and they're probably not cheap to have on your show, I will... Ooh, 10 mil?
$4 to $4.5 million is what it's estimated to be.
Did you look that up, Tasha?
I did not.
Okay.
I'm starting to get like a rhythm as the movies we watch.
Okay, that makes sense.
And it was independently financed. Krager got backing for this film overseas and everything, and this won't give anything away about the film, so I can give this away before we go through spoilers. The day right before the shoot happened, the financier died, and they lost all of their funding. It was funded at $3 million, and then I don't have the name, but there was a producer that pulled some strings and stuff and got I believe it was Fox. It's not Fox now, 20th Century, to end up going oh yeah, well it's basically getting ready to shoot tomorrow, so all the work's done, and gave them a $4 to $4.5 million budget on the film. And they this movie should have died realistically. Krager has talked about this is not a way to make a movie. There's no reason that this movie should have been made. Don't look at how I made this movie and go, oh look, if that got made I can make this, because he's this will never happen again. But so for $4.5 million, how much money do you think it made?
A lot, probably. I would say 25.
This I did see, so I'm not going to answer.
It made $45.4 million.
Wow.
Oh, wait, never mind. That's not the number I saw. Wow.
At the box office, it made $45.4 million. So it basically 10 times its budget.
Good.
And Krager has said that he is writing a new horror film. They've asked him about making a sequel and stuff, and he doesn't really want to make a sequel to this story because it kind of does its own thing. But he has thought about using the template of the structure of this movie, because it doesn't really follow its standard 3-act structure for a film, to make another mystery horror movie in the future. So he's entertaining the fact of making another Barbarian film, but it would have nothing to do with this one. But yeah, he does have another film that he has written that he said is weirder and crazier than this film. He also had his dream movie to have that he's written to have made is he's hoping to do well enough to, he's got, I guess, a Batman script that he wants to get made.
Okay. All right.
Why not?
Sure.
He said he doesn't see him give him the keys to that car anytime soon.
No, I mean, there's so many iterations of that freaking Batman story, and you never know. He might pull it off one day.
Yeah, it could work. So, all right. Spoiler warning: if you're going to listen past here, you've been warned. Don't get mad that I wanted to watch this or whatever.
Yeah, you have to watch this movie. If you're going to listen to this, I know a lot of our podcasts you could probably listen to and still go watch the movie and then still be surprised. This is not one of those episodes. This is one of those episodes is going to ruin every single thing for you, because this movie has so much suspense. You cannot know about anything ahead of time.
Too much has probably already been said.
Yeah, the less you know about this movie going into it, the better.
Yes.
You can get away with watching the original trailer and it won't ruin anything. Because
Correct.
that's all that we had seen prior to watching it. But beyond that, don't read anything. Do not listen to what we're about to say, because I have 9 pages of notes, literally walking scene by scene in this movie, and you will have it ruined. That being said, though, if you still want to stay part, because this is a movie club, fast forward to the end of the episode, like the last 5 minutes or so, and you can find out what we're going to be watching next week. So,
yep.
All right. Without further ado, we will be going into Barbarian.
Review and our reviews.
Yep. So, who has the? Let's see here. Who has the 1 out of 10? They're both long.
I do.
They're both long.
Okay. Let's do this.
All right.
Yeah.
1 out of 10.
All right. 1 out of 10. By 10 minutes into the film, we are supposed to believe that a woman who is applying for a white-collar job in a prestigious downtown corporate office is going to book a room at a house in what is worse than any ghetto I've ever seen. Parentheses. Every other house on the street is literally destroyed and uninhabitable. It looks like the Dresden bombings and a crack epidemic happened to the neighborhood at the same time. End parentheses.
They clearly have not been to Detroit in some areas, because,
this is Detroit.
Cleveland is like this too. We got an Airbnb that was kind of like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, not as bad, but yeah. I mean, our Airbnb and the restaurant below it was amazing, but the rest of the area was really fucking sketchy, and we had no idea. You go
gentrification.
You go 2 roads over at this place, and it's beautiful again. It's just absolutely crazy. But the person with this review, did they not pay attention to anything that was explained? Because it explains why she has to stay here and why all these things that had to play out. Because they did a very good job in this movie explaining why things happen the way that they happen.
I feel like they're sitting there already reviewing it as it's 10 minutes into the movie.
Correct.
All right. I continue. It would never happen.
Wrong.
It's absurd.
I don't agree.
Wait. Then we're supposed to believe another guy chose to stay there too. There would never in a million years be a remodeled, I like this part because we just talked about it. There would never in a million years be a remodeled, modernized Airbnb on a street like this, which, I mean, that's kind of what Airbnbs are.
That's the business
Exactly.
model. It's gentrification, the company.
Yep.
Yeah. It would be illegal in so many levels, and no one with a working brain would ever want to stay there, let alone be a viable business for 20 years. Let alone it being a viable business for 20 years. I don't get that reference.
No.
There was no viable business for 20 years there. They didn't have Airbnbs back then either.
Gotcha.
That's weird.
So why is Hollywood continually making movies for people who forget how to think? This is not asking us to suspend our disbelief, quote. This is asking us to, I don't want to, I'm not saying it. They say the R word and I'm not saying it.
Yeah.
With so many positive reviews, I am very, very concerned for the millennial generation and for those to come. This person has, tell you, I'm not done. But I continued to watch because I was bored and had nothing better to do. And here is what I got. Okay. Wait, now it's bullet pointed. 1.
Oh, shit.
A, quote, horror movie that was not at all scary and way more laughable in a bad way. 2, a ridiculous, defying the laws of logic and physics, i.e. a girl falls well over 50 feet off a giant fuel water tank and she gets up and walks away from it. Caps. LMAO. 3, a shift out of left field into another time and place and characters. 4A, a shift back. 5, another shift.
So we're just giving this movie shit because it has a flashback to give
Context. Yeah.
Okay.
And we needed that context.
A gigantic part of the movie.
Yeah.
It tells you what happened.
Yeah.
But, okay. Shift to another timeline and another new character. Stop! Who cares anymore? Make one cohesive movie.
It was cohesive.
not 3 slapped together.
So this person is saying, like, stop treating us like idiots, but the fact that this movie is trying to do something new and original is idiotic.
But even having flashbacks isn't idiotic. It's been in literature and movies forever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's for context. And we had just talked about when we watched our last movie, the Reanimator, had they had left certain things in and we had understood it, then we would have gotten better context. And they did that in this movie where they could have not put that in there, and then we would have had to just infer that this is what was going on.
It'd be absolutely ridiculous.
The really interesting thing about that is when Krager wrote the script for this film, a producer backed it before that scene was even in there. So the film did not have Frank, the character, in it at all. So there was no bedroom downstairs there was a bedroom, but there was no Frank's bedroom in it and stuff. So the producer said, hey, this script is really good. I'll back it, but under one stipulation, that you add an extra layer to it. Cool. So he wrote that whole background thing to it, sent it to that producer, and the producer ghosted him.
Really? He's like, okay, you want something? This is what I've got to give.
Yeah. So he wrote it, sends it to the guy. The guy never spoke to him again. He's like, I've never heard from him. I don't know what he's doing. Whatever. He's like, but like, I love that scene. It works so well. And if it weren't for him, like, that would have never happened.
Yeah. I can't believe that movie was made without Frank in mind at all. That's really surprising.
It was supposed to just be very vague, which this movie, I would not have liked it the way that I do if it was all just left to the imagination.
Agreed. Yeah. I'm not done.
Oh, shit.
Hold on. And finally.
Okay.
6. The quote, monster is hilariously funny, not scary at all, has a ridiculous backstory, has ridiculous behavior, also defies gravity, physics, and logic in a way that it can and can't do, etc., etc., etc. Hollywood gave the masses another prize for the ultra stupid, and sadly, many people gobbled it up because it's probably the best they're going to get.
Oh boy.
And now, I would like to review this review. Solely because it's so judgy. They spelled "there" wrong.
Oh, shit.
Oh, you done got.
Yeah.
They use the possessive, not the contract. So they need an apostrophe RE. Thank you very much. The end.
And in summation, you dumb bitch.
Like, I'm not even a gigantic fan. I'm not a huge proponent of this movie, but that was really harsh. Like, I don't agree with a lot of it.
I don't either. And I don't love this movie. I don't hate this movie. I think it's a good movie, but yeah, that a lot of that stuff, especially about like the monster, that is a lot of it actually kind of makes sense, except for the ending. That's about the only part.
My favorite thing about the monster is that it isn't scary, that it's more of a sympathetic character.
Yeah.
It's more of a Frankenstein kind of thing where you feel bad for the monster.
Yeah, when I got the end of this movie, I almost cried at the end of this movie this time. I was so sympathetic to this. Well, I've been crying a lot lately, so emotional lady here, but it was just one of those moments, and I was like, this is horrible.
Yeah. Even to the part where, like, calling the character Mama a monster feels bad.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
All right. So that was our 1 out of 10. And the review of the review is see me after class, it seems.
Yeah. With the red pen.
Right. Yep.
Okay, 10 out of 10.
Let's
Probably one of the most original horror movies to come out in years, if not decades. I really
Hold on. That lady said it was not original.
Yeah, well, it is. But that person,
or man.
Well, that lady or man was also talking shit about millennials, so let's just move on.
Yeah. We should do dueling reviews.
Yeah.
Review versus review.
Yeah. 1 paragraph each at a time.
Some of our 1-star reviews have been banging, and they've been really good, but that one was just not good.
Yeah, this one didn't stand up.
No. Okay, I really enjoyed it from the beginning till the credits rolled. Quite honestly, I might do the rare thing and drop another $11 to see it again. The story is simple, double-booked Airbnb brings together an unusual couple, or maybe not so unusual. Some weird stuff happens at night in the shady part of Detroit where the house is. The neighborhood is run down except for the well-manicured home the Airbnb sits on. This adds to the eeriness. The house holds some seriously disturbing secrets, right down to the dirty mattress with an old-school camcorder setup. The room, for some reason, is set apart from the rest of the house. Seriously disturbing secrets I did not see coming. I honestly could not guess what direction this horror movie was going, but goes there full throttle, which I agree with. That's pretty true. Just in time for the spooky season, this movie is one scary thrill ride. Actually kind of stayed with me for a bit afterwards. Bill Skarsgård, the clown from It, is unrecognizable, and Georgina Campbell reminds me of a young Rosario Dawson. You'll have a good time finding out the secrets in this one. No spoilers, because quite honestly, the big reveals in this one are some of the most original I've seen in years. And that is it.
I like that Bill Skarsgård is unrecognizable in this movie as himself.
I saw his face and knew that he was a multi-dimensional monster from another film.
Yeah. Oh boy. He's such a good actor. Their whole family is just full of just amazing, incredible actors. Like, they grew up in a family. I have been following their family for a really long time. Their dad's in everything. Like, Bill's dad was in like the original Thor movie, and probably all the other ones. And then he's been in all the Avengers movies. And then his brother was in True Blood and a bunch of other stuff. And then his brother Gustav was in the Viking show as Floki. And like, this family has just got some insane acting skills.
Dang, yeah.
Yeah, Alexander Skarsgård is one of my man crush Mondays. Yeah. That dude is just like beauty personified as a man.
Yeah, they're just, oh my gosh, especially Alexander. And
he's a hell of a good actor.
Yeah, that was my first like kind of step into them, and then I did my research and I realized, wow, their dad Stellan or Stefan or whatever his name is, he's been in every freaking thing under the sun. So yeah.
Yeah, he's the big bad guy in the new Dune.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he's done everything. It's crazy.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Alexander Skarsgård looks like Macaulay Culkin.
No, he does not.
I just Googled him. That's what I think.
Yeah, he's been in a lot of stuff. He was in The Northman, which is an A24 film, and he did a really good job in that. And he's been in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, he was just in Infinity Pool with Mia Goth, which is Cronenberg Jr. I can't remember his first name right now. Brandon Cronenberg's new movie and stuff. Looking forward to watching that. I own it, just haven't got around to it. Anyway, so we're gonna start opening the credits and stuff, and we are welcomed with thunderstorm, rain. We get a wide shot of the front of the aforementioned Airbnb. Something I found interesting, little Easter egg right off the bat. Airbnb, you cannot spell the word barbarian without those letters. The entire title, and this was not on purpose. These are things that Krager has been sent from people. There's a few Easter eggs right here in the beginning that I'm going to tell you that are happy accidents or coincidences. Okay. So Jeep pulls up and she checks the code for the lock for the Airbnb. Looks kind of down the street. It's super dark. Like, you can't see the next house, really. There's just some street lights off in the distance.
Which is why that review was saying that it's in like the trashiest part of town makes no sense, because she did not know that going in.
Yeah, you
have no idea.
So she types 8831 into the code and it won't work. She's getting a phone call from Marcus and says, go away. Like, she doesn't want to deal with him. This is later, I believe, mentioned to be her ex-boyfriend. Yeah. She types 8331 in, the lockbox opens, and there's no key inside of it. So she then begins to call the owner of the Airbnb and says that she is at 476 Barbary Street. So, Barbary Street, Barbarian, 476, the year that the barbarians sacked Rome. that was an accident.
No.
Oh, crazy.
He's like, I wish I was that much of a genius.
That smart.
but nope, that just kind of happened.
Okay.
So as she's calling this, still no answer, goes to voicemail. She goes out to the car, and the light is turned on at the house. So she goes up to the door, starts ringing the doorbell, and we get introduced to our second character, and he's like, "Hey there, Georgie," which is kind of funny because her name's Georgina. But Pennywise, Bill Skarsgård, opens the door. And at this time, they kind of go back and forth and find out that they have double booked the same place, which is 100% possible with how these things are sent out across multiple websites and everything.
They do a good job here explaining why it got double booked and how it's possible instead of just making you believe it. Like, they are very specific in that.
So he says, come inside and we can call these idiots. So this is part number 1 of the fact that Krager read a book. Let me find it real quick. He read a book by Gavin de Becker named The Gift of Fear, and this book is what influenced him to write this movie. So The Gift of Fear is which encourages women to trust their intuition when confronted by obviously dangerous men. He used it as a writing exercise and began crafting a 30-minute short that consisted entirely of a conversation in which a woman continues to ignore a mounting series of red flags. He liked it well enough that he knew he had the makings of a longer film and began conceptualizing a broader story for the characters.
Okay.
So Bill's character of Keith is literally just a red flag machine. Whether it's his intentions or not, everything that he does is a red flag. And one of the things is when they use, when men in these situations use we instead of you can come in and stuff like that. It's trying to coerce somebody into like, we're together, we're here. Like, it's trying to feign this like
bonding experience.
Okay. Yep. So that was something that he pulled from that book.
Well, it worked perfectly because I had alarm bells going off every scene that he's in at the beginning.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful.
I listened to a lot of interviews with Krager for the build up to this episode, and I tried to write down as many of them as show up in this scene and stuff. So let's see here. So she comes in and instantly is just like, here's my confirmation number and everything. It's like, yeah, looks fine. Comes in and he's like, she's like, can you show me your confirmation? And he's like, yeah, I just got to get my phone. And he gives it to her and it's like, do you just need to make sure that I'm not some sort of weirdo? And she's like, yeah, all seems flat. Like, it all seems fair and good and stuff. So she gives him the phone back, asks, she needs to use the restroom, goes in, sees some overnight supplies. So it's like, okay, this guy isn't like the owner of the place. It looks kind of on the up and up. Then she comes out and tells him that I'll just find somewhere else. And that's where he's like, no, don't do that and everything. So red flag, like not wanting her to leave, trying to keep her there.
Well, he says there's a medical convention in town and all the hotels are booked. So like, he's giving her the explanation as to why this is true. And she does call and try to confirm that she can't get it anywhere. So she's not just believing him, which that's the nice part about this whole scene. Like the whole first part of this movie is like, she is kind of leery of him, listening to her instincts, and then she's then confirming or figuring out for herself, so she's not believing everything she's hearing.
Yep. So she even says like, I'll just go out in my car and make these calls, and he's like, I wouldn't stay outside.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you got to see what it's like out there, but it's a bad neighborhood.
Yeah. But when you first start this movie for the first time, you don't know if he's lying to her or not because we haven't seen it as the audience. Correct. But the second time around, you're like, man, he's actually being nice. So it's like definitely a different view.
One cool thing about this is later on we will see this neighborhood in two different states, of upkept and disarray and stuff like that. This was all built for the movie. There are 18 structures, this neighborhood specifically, there's, I believe, 18 structures that were built in the disarray, and then they were redone on the outside to look like the 80s, I believe is when it's supposed to be, when we get to that. So at this point, they kind of introduce themselves as Keith and Tess. Keith tries to be super nice, but he's like nervously rambling, which I can understand. I'm a rambler. And when the writer, when Zach was talking about these two characters, he said that these are two parts of him. If he's in a situation where he's feeling uncomfortable, he's going to be rambling and stuff like that. But at the same time, he's very guarded and everything. Like if he thinks something's up, he's like, wait, what's going on? Who's that? What's this? No, I just want to leave.
Yeah.
So he is both characters. And another thing about Georgina's character that we are starting to learn is like with the whole go away earlier when she got a phone call from Marcus, and she keeps saying stuff like, nah, like I've just had a bad history of this, that, and the other. This is Zach Krager writing his history and life into a character, because Georgina comes from a manipulated backstory in the sense of she comes from people that have used her to their advantage and stuff like that. And Zach talks about she basically has all of these tropes that come from a child that was raised with an alcoholic parent, which he was.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so that's something I have in common.
So he is both of these characters. Okay. Is something I found kind of interesting. But Keith's being super nice, and Tess can't get a room. There's that medical convention in town, and Keith's just like, you know what, you can take the bedroom, I'll take the couch, it's not a big deal. And she's like, no, I'll just sleep on the couch. And he, again, being nice, but it seems
creepy,
like right across that line. He's like, I could never allow a woman to sleep on the couch if I were sleeping in a bed, kind of thing. So it's well-meaning, but at the same time, it's in the situation, circumstances, it's coming off weird.
Doesn't he mention something about the bedroom having a lock?
Yeah.
Also, or was that just me?
Yeah.
Okay, I couldn't remember if I put that together or if he explicitly said it. Yeah. I think that's when I started to turn a little bit like, okay, maybe he's not. Because where my mind went was this was his house and this is what he does. Yep. He brings in unsuspecting women, but I'm sure that's kind of however it was written.
That was the intention.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when he talks about this script, he gets to page 45 of writing the script, and not to get too far ahead or anything, he gets to page 45 in the script and goes, I've wasted everyone's time. Everybody knows that Keith is going to kill Georgina. Yeah. Like, that, or Keith is going to kill Tess. And I don't want this to be a color by numbers book, so that's why.
But I liked it up to page 45. 1 through 45 were great.
Okay, so this part is where Keith also is telling her, like, or she tells him, hey, I can't sleep in a bed with dirty sheets. Like, I'm not gonna do that. So then they go and they wash the bedding together, which I was like, okay, so that's kind of creepy when you first see the movie, but you see it this time and you're like, that's actually really kind. Like, he was very considerate.
It's very kind, and you get a life lesson on the perfect way to change
a bed cover. Yeah, that was cute.
Just shake into it.
So when she goes into the bedroom and stuff, she finds Keith's wallet and takes a picture of his ID. Genius.
I would do it too.
Great. Yep.
But he is who he says he is too, though. So that confirms it. Yeah. Or to some degree, I guess.
prior to this, he offered, like, while he was rambling and stuff, he was like, hey, I'm going to make some tea. Do you want some tea? But like, just like a million miles per hour, like talking. She's like, no, I don't. I'll just make it for you anyway. She doesn't drink it. When she comes back out, Keith has got a bottle of wine out now and explains that he hasn't opened it, and again is nervously rambling. I noticed you didn't drink the tea, so I didn't open the wine. So if you want some wine, you can see me open it. Blah, blah, blah. Like, just keeps going because he understands that she's uncomfortable in this situation, and he truthfully is trying to, like, everything's cool here. But that's exactly what a bad guy would do.
Yeah.
So,
but this reminded me of you, because this is something that you would probably do. And then you would like over-explain stuff just like he did. So that reminded me of it. But at the same time, when you first see the movie, you're like, holy shit, this dude, he's really trying to get it in there. Like, he's trying too hard. Like, trying to, appease her or whatever. Because, yeah, the tea thing was, I wouldn't have drank that tea either as a woman. Like, if I showed up, I would not, there's no way in hell. So
like, you're trying too hard to get me to drink that tea.
Exactly. There's no way. And then the wine thing, you're getting a little warmer to this character, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely is just like is super, super nice, but in this situation, it's not helpful at all.
Yeah, the second time around though, like it's just he's so sweet.
Yes, he is. And then he tries to set them up to have that wine together, and she says no, which is like, I'm not doing this. And then they start talking about what she's in town for, and she's going to try to get a job to help with the documentary.
Yep.
And she has her interview the following day, so that's what she's in town for. And you can go from here, honey.
Yeah. So she's taking an interview to become a documentary director's assistant, I believe is what it is. And they start to get to know each other and stuff. And he's asking her, like, so what films has she done and everything? And it's this jazz movie. And she drops the name. I can't remember it off the top of my head. It's like Blue something. And he's like, oh, yeah, no, I saw that. Again, comes off like initially it comes off like you're just, you're just saying, yeah, no, I'm just like you or whatever. Because she's like, nobody saw that. And he actually starts explaining. He's like, oh, the one with the kids that do this and all this stuff. And she's like, holy shit, you did see this movie.
Yep.
And he's like, well, like if you're in this area to make a documentary, you should totally make a movie about me. To which is like kind of like a bullshit, like, like, hey, you should make a movie about me. And she's like, why would I do that?
That's creepy.
And he's like, well, because I'm one of the founders of the Lion Tamers, which doesn't get any, like, I wish they'd give a little bit more about this, but I believe it's an art collective or something.
I honestly don't know. We didn't really learn a whole lot about it.
It's kind of name dropped, and then she's like, holy shit about it. I wish we would have gotten just like an extra sentence or two just about it, because it's made to be kind of a big deal. She's like, why are you staying here? And he's talking about like, well, I'm here scouting out the location and stuff, because she talks about like, don't you guys have an entire block like to yourselves and everything? And he's like, yeah, we're just looking for a new location. So it kind of makes me feel like it's this like commune art collective, maybe like political activist kind of thing. I don't know, but as far as I know, it's not really given any like more pizzazz to it.
This says Keith is a member of the Lion Tamers group, which seeks out housing to make communities, and he is scouting within Brightmoor for the next neighborhood his group can invest in, develop, and live in.
Oh, okay. So they themselves are kind of gentrifiers.
Yep.
Okay. So not as cool. I thought he was like some like artsy guy, and it's like
same here. I thought he was like part of a jazz band.
Or something like that. Like I was like, oh sweet, there's gonna be like murals all over these houses that like, and everything. No, it just we're gonna get a Whole Foods here.
Yeah.
So previously she said that she wasn't going to drink any wine. It cuts to them on the couch, and they're now opening up and talking, and she is drinking wine with him, and they're connecting, and it seems like the tension has been cut. In a way. Yeah.
This is when they're getting flirty with each other, and they're just kind of relaxing and having a good old time talking about their lives, that he's just like really like attentive to her and like really listening and giving his feedback. And I really liked that about this because, again, you don't know if this is him being creepy and she's just falling for it now or not.
Yeah, my guard was totally up on this one.
Yeah.
I was like, something's about to happen.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, it's a 3-season television show of Keith and Tess and their wild adventures, and I would love to watch their relationship bloom. That's what's going to happen, right?
Well, and they talk in this scene about the men versus women dynamic, and I love that because that kind of calls back to that book you said he read, because it was talking about like what would happen if she had been the one to be there first and he showed up and he's like, you wouldn't let me in, and she's like, no, like, and I wouldn't either. I would be like, fuck no, dude, go away.
Not in a million years.
I don't believe you. No.
And he's like,
I wouldn't have been Tess and gone into that house.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that too.
Keith even, he straight up says something that I say to Steph all the time. She'll be talking about like misogynistic men and all this stuff, and she'll be like, yeah, all men, blah blah blah, and then I'll go like, hey, I'm not all men. And Keith does that. Like she's like talking like, yeah, but you know, any man comes in, blah blah. He's like, well, hold on, like I'm not any man. Like I wouldn't do that or anything. And there's so many times where like that kind of stuff happens, and I just like, I'm looking in the mirror, like hand on the mirror, just like, oh my God, you're not the only person that acts like this.
Yeah. Well, and then he asks her one time, like, do I look like a monster? And now that kind of triggered.
In 2 movies, you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were unrecognizable
as yourself
in this movie, according to that review.
Yeah, exactly.
Now that's stuff that I'm wondering.
I wonder if that was.
Yeah.
I wonder if that has anything to do harkening back to him playing.
It's got to be like written like, hey, this will be kind of a funny line. Like, do I look like a monster?
If you know, you know.
What, do I look like a fucking alien clown to you? It's like, oh God, that's a little on the nose, don't you think? And this line, I didn't notice the other times that I watched it. It kind of ends this conversation, but it really stuck out this time, which I feel is like a huge red herring for the rest of the movie. Because they're talking about this stuff, and she's talking about like her history with men and everything. And she says, why is it always girls who get their hearts ripped out in these things? Which I thought was written to be like, hey, this is going to be foreshadowing, like that she's going to get her heart ripped out. This was almost a throwaway line to me initially. And then I saw it and I was like, I think that line was written to make people think like she's going to get her heart ripped out, like in like a visceral way.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, like, not like I thought, or not like
No.
Nobody has watched this film and known what was going on. Like, they did not start this movie and end it going like, yeah, I saw that coming.
Nope. Yeah. There's no way in hell. No. And I'm like the queen usually of being like, yep, this is going to happen next. Nope, this is next. Oh, nope, I'm going to see this. And there was a very few parts when I first saw the movie that I was like, they're probably going to have this. But realistically, there wasn't a damn thing that I knew about this movie. This movie was very shocking in that way.
So then we cut to the duvet changing scene, which
we already talked about.
I know, but gather around, kids. He's going to explain to you how to do this.
Not just explain.
Show you. And I literally, the first time I saw this movie, thought this is when Keith was going to kill her. Or something. I thought he was going to like have the duvet and be like, and then just bag her ass up and just like fucking whatever.
That actually would have worked. That would have been a good scene. Yeah.
I was like, oh, and I wonder if that's where he wrote, and he's like, nah, we're just not going to do that, and we're not going to do it. Like, I wonder if he's like duvet time, and then it's just like, nah, not yet. We're too early in the script.
Yeah.
So at this time, you can tell that Tessa's body language has changed, and she is definitely like kind of like. You're seeing like she's kind of getting into Keith a little bit.
Well, she's also drunk.
Yeah.
We can't
They're both drunk.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they tell each other goodnight. Tess wakes up to a sound in the house. So you just kind of hear like a kind of sound in the middle of the night, which is different to our last movie, Reanimator, where you just hear like a noise in the middle of the night. So we've got 2 crazy sounds in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Which Tasha loved Reanimator. I do remember that. You don't have to say anything, Tasha.
We don't know. We'll save that for another time.
Yeah.
We already did that.
So Tess walks into the living room and sees Keith is having what looks like night terrors. And Tess just kind of shakes his shoulder, and he's like kind of like it's escalating. And she shakes his shoulder one more time, saying his name, and scares the ever-living shit out of Keith. And deservedly so. He's like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "You were screaming." He's like, "I'm screaming. Like, why are you coming up to me in the middle of the night?" And she's like, "My bedroom door was open." What? It's like, "Did you open my door?" And he's like, No, I didn't open your door. Like, bitch, I'm asleep going through some traumatic things. Like, come on, get off of me.
Dealing with my own stuff.
But if you watch the movie the first time, you kind of think that he is possibly like, he's kind of a dick in the scene, it understandably so, but it also comes across as like maybe the veil is dropping. Like, this is him in his real form and not the, really charismatic guy that we met, or the bumbling charismatic guy we met earlier.
Now he's like a tortured soul.
Yeah.
Which makes what happens later in the film even worse. Like, he's such a good guy, but like you could tell he's got like this fucked up past and stuff, because when he's talking about sleeping on the couch, he's like, "I've slept on way worse." And stuff. And it's not just like I slept on, it gets dropped like twice. It's like, this motherfucker is like slept on the floor of a Turkish prison or something. Like, it doesn't come off in just like a really light way.
Nope.
But it's morning now. She goes back to bed, locks the door, and wakes up in the morning, and the door's still locked and closed. She gets up, and Keith is gone and has left a nice note telling her to break a leg and whatnot. And this is the first time that she and us see the neighborhood. It is a super duper shithole.
Yep.
Yeah.
The reference to the Dresden bombings is pretty good. This place just looks like it's been burnt to the ground and stuff. It is. And if you've ever been to Detroit and stuff, it's been a little like a year or so since I've been up to Detroit. If you go up around like the ball stadiums and stuff, and you go maybe like a block or two in any other direction from those ball stadiums, kind of looks like this. Those companies,
and it's like that in most cities.
Yeah, because
too.
Those companies find the cheapest property, and that's where they build their things at. So it definitely has that, like, the fact that they built this to look like that, it's spot on. Like, because I thought that they just went up to Detroit and shot this in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Well, like, even in our own town where we live, if you go off our main drag, like, you're running in like the main street that runs through our town, a whole large area of it's just crap of houses. Maybe not to this degree, but you do see that, and this is kind of nasty.
Yep. So we then cut to Tess is at a meeting, and she's given the googly eyes at the photo of Keith's ID, like, oh, and all smiles. I like him. It's kind of a weird thing that they're like setting you up for in a little bit. And then she's there for her interview, and the interviewer's like, "Oh, so where are you staying at?" She's like, "Oh," she says, she drops the neighborhood, but she basically tells her like Barbary Street or whatever, and she's like, "Oh, yeah, you should not be staying there. It is like, it's not safe over there." And she's like, "No, it's fine, and like she's even like, oh, that, I've got a roommate and all this stuff." It's like, oh, and she's just like, "All right, be safe." Like, getting more of that confirmation that it's fucked up out here.
But it sounds like she gets the job, though.
Yeah, because it's like, "I'll see you tomorrow."
Yeah.
So we cut back to the shithole that is Barbary Street. And Tess is looking down the road, and there's a guy running down, a homeless man, and he's screaming at her in not the best way. He's going, "Hey, little girl, come out of that house.
Is there a good way to
don't go in there. Hey, little girl." Like, hey works. Hey, little girl makes it seem so much more ominous.
Yeah, and then he's like banging on the door when she gets inside and shuts him out, like barely makes it in. That was a pretty tense moment. And then he's just banging on her door, and she calls the cops. Like, this is the part that makes me mad the most in this entire thing, is that, police officers are supposed to be there and they're supposed to be supportive, but that like in these areas, in these kind of communities, this is why we have the issues we have in our country in a lot of ways, is that they just ain't showing up like they're supposed to. And it really hits into that in this scene where she calls and they're like, sorry, we have no available units.
Yeah, and and Krager said, like, when writing this, he wasn't writing it to be either way. He's like, if you put cops in a movie, it's in this day and age, like, people are going to read into it one way or another. He's like, I just wrote them to work for my script. It's not pro or anti-cop. This is what I needed it to be.
I didn't look at it as being pro or anti-cop either. I looked at it as this is what happens in these communities, and this is the stereotype that they have to live with, and this is no matter how good of or a horrible person you are, they care less about you because of your status in life.
Yeah, well,
it's
also the idea of like, it's a dangerous area with a lot of dangerous stuff going on there. I don't want to go there and get hurt, but that's kind of your job in a way.
That's your job. Yeah, exactly.
In a way, like, I mean, your job's not to get hurt, but your job is to go and protect and serve. So,
correct.
But so nobody, like, the 911's not sending anybody out, so she goes to the restroom, and there's no toilet paper in the bathroom. So she goes searching through the house and finds a stairway to the basement. So she goes down and finds some toilet paper, and by the time she gets to the top of the stairs, the door swings shut, closes. She goes to open it, and it is locked. At this time, did anybody think that Keith locked her down there?
Yes.
No. I don't know. Like, I didn't, because he wasn't home yet, so we didn't confirm that.
We don't know that.
We didn't know. Yeah,
that's
we didn't
true.
confirm that he ever left.
That's true.
He's in the attic.
I don't think I ever drew that conclusion, though. I just thought it was weird that, like, now she's stuck in the basement. But they do a good job showing, like, hey, she doesn't have her cell phone. She can't get out that way. Well, not that the cops were going to show up anyway, just to be honest.
But she couldn't call anybody.
But to call for help, to call anybody,
yeah.
She couldn't call the person she just had an interview with.
So, yeah, because...
I didn't really... This is where the writing started to get a little weird for me, and I think this is probably close to page 45 would be my guess. Like, I just remember being like, why are you going to the basement?
Page 4...
like that trope.
Page 45 is the scene right before Justin Long shows up.
Okay, yeah.
So that, like, I love his, when we get there,
I like Justin Long's part.
I love his description of how page 45 comes out. So, so she's locked down there, and yep, her phone's upstairs, and she also has the house key in her pocket. So she's looking out the she's looking out the basement window and everything, and she's like, shit, I'm kind of stuck down here. So she's like looking around and everything, and she finds this rope in a hole in the wall that's kind of behind a shelf, and as she pulls it, it opens a secret door in the wall beside her.
This is so fucked up.
Let's take a vote. Who would walk down this hole in the wall?
Well,
anybody?
Your initial reaction right there of just like, nope, is her legitimate reaction. She, like, sees it open, looks down, it's just a pitch black corridor, and she goes,
oh, that's right.
Like, I love that. Like, she's a very smart character. Like, because it's like builds, like all the music's like, she looks down at it, and you expect her to just be like, hello, but she's just like, I'm not doing this. It'd be great if the movie ended right there. Tasha's favorite movie, 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
You ever seen that movie where a girl looks down a hallway? Shit's crazy.
I mean, that's the movie poster.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, it kind of is. Yeah,
it shows you that. Yeah.
But she grabs a mirror and angles it to reflect light out of the window down the hallway. That's from this.
Not from the window. It's from the light above her.
Oh, okay, from the light above her.
The hanging one.
Yeah, there's a light hanging above her.
Yeah.
This is very smart.
Yeah,
it is very.
So
smart.
She's kind of lighting it up a little bit, and then now she decides to enter it.
Still want it.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you're in this neighborhood, you think it's almost empty, like, honestly. And that's the crazy thing about it. It's like this guy's running down there earlier in the story and he's banging on her door. She doesn't really see anybody there. It's like everything's dilapidated and broken down, but you don't see the squatters if they're there. And, like, I found that interesting. And then how all this other parts play out was strange because of that, I think.
Yeah.
So
tense music begins to play as she enters. Slowly she travels through and she finds another door. And this door is open and there's electricity in this room. The room has a few items in it. It is a gnarly white room that's got scratched up walls and stuff like that. There's a VHS camcorder on a tripod, which is pointed at a stained mattress on a rusty frame and a 5-gallon bucket.
Ugh.
She kind of sees this stuff, and then she sees a bloody palm print on the wall, and she's out of there.
Yeah, that's you already know what's going. Like they've set that up so well. There's no guessing what went on in there. Like like
that Keith murdered a lot of people.
Yeah, that's what you do think. Yeah, that's exactly what you think.
What I do love about this movie, and it definitely goes against everything that I've said in previous episodes, is for these kind of things, you don't see any of it. You don't, it's all alluded to. It's all in your own mind. You see that and you instantly are like, oh my God. You see some other stuff later on. Oh my God. And it's all in your head.
But it's enough that it just messes with you.
So
gives you just a taste to then for you to start forming whatever you are.
Which is probably worse than actually seeing it in this case. It is. Yeah. Obviously horrible.
So she hears some knocking upstairs, runs to the window and starts yelling out. And she sees Keith trying to get in. He's like, what are you doing down there? And she's like, I'm stuck down here. They kind of wedge the door or the window open. She gives him the key. He gets in the house and gets her in. And she is like, we need to get the fuck out of here. There's this room down there, explains what's in it and everything. And Keith's like, what? Like, what? What's down there? Like, you're gonna leave over that? And basically, because this is the thing. This goes back to the whole like a guy's brain versus a woman's brain. Woman sees that shit and she's like, rape dungeon. Guy sees
gonna be trapped in there.
Guy sees it and which we see later. Guy sees it and it's just like, oh, okay, there's just like some random odds and ends, because he even says it's like it's a basement. There's usually a lot of random stuff. It's like there's a mattress and a bucket that's like in a video camcorder, and it's like, if I told you there's a room containing some objects and stuff, a guy's gonna be like, there's some objects there. Woman sees it and it's just like rape dungeon.
That's shocking.
Well, it's kind of like us going back to when we watched The Strangers, and then you told me you would go outside and try to scare these people off. Yeah. And in my head, I'm like, you're fucking crazy. There is no way I'm going out there to try to scare anybody else.
Don't be fucking with my Merle Haggard records.
Like there's just no way. And I think that's a good understanding of like the difference between men and women. And they do play that up really well in this.
Yeah. So he's like, well, I just need to see it for myself. Give me 20 seconds. You know, she is pleading with him, like, please do not go down. He's like, calm down. It's going to be all right. I'm just going to go down. I just want to see what you're talking about. He's like, and she's like getting ready to leave. And I think that.
But you think this is creepy though, right? Because you like, he's just going down. He's not making it a big deal because you think he's the one that's been using this room, and then he's not making a big deal of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But I really like this line. It's almost like, is it too good, or is it like real, in the sense where he's like, I'm sorry if it seems like I'm not taking you seriously. I just didn't see it. Like, you're freaking out about it, but I didn't see it, so I don't have this context. And that's how my brain works. It's like I understand.
Yeah, that's exactly you.
I understand you're freaked out and everything, but I can't understand the freak out if you're going to tell me, well, there's a chicken nugget and like there's a sandcastle and we got to leave. I'm like, I don't understand how that's scary.
I think if it would have been like, if I would have been in this, God, I hope I'm never in this situation. Yeah. But like, it would have been one of these things like, just take my word for it. It's terrible. I'm not over exaggerating. Let's just go.
Hitler is downstairs making balloon animals. We have to go.
Yeah.
Yes. Get out of here.
So, he goes downstairs and she's yelling down from the top of the stairs going like, do you see it? And you hear him like off in the distance, like, yeah. And she's responds back, you can come back up now. Silence. No response. Tess keeps the door, or she gets ready to go downstairs and she hears the door closing, runs upstairs, stops it from closing, grabs a chair, wedges it under the doorknob, goes downstairs. Phone flashlight in hand, she returns to the bucket room looking for Keith.
And he's nowhere to be found.
Nope.
Why did she go downstairs?
I know.
See, and as it's written, you think he's baiting her to go downstairs.
Yep.
I've known this guy for less than an hour. I'm not going to say this.
We don't see Justin Long until 40 minutes in this film. So the whole opening of this movie, Tasha's favorite part of the movie, is 40 minutes.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
So she's looking around for him with the flashlight now because she did not have this previously, and finds that there's another secret door at the end of this hallway. When she opens it, she finds that it is a set of stairs that descends downward. So we're already in a basement, in a secret hallway, behind a secret door, that we then find another secret door with a secret staircase descending, to which she yells down, "Keith!" And you can hear Keith yelling her name and for help off in the distance, and we follow her claustrophobic descent down these stairs.
And he's yelling, "Please."
Yeah. It comes off very baity. Like, "Please,
Yeah.
help,
Yeah.
there's ninjas here."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Phone flashlight in hand. Oh, nope.
Also, why did he go further?
Well, we don't know if...
We don't know.
We don't know if he went there on purpose or if what's in this area...
dragged him.
Yeah. So...
fair.
As she's walking through, we see a metal gate, and we hear Keith in the distance yelling for help. She then sees rusty metal cages with food dishes. They are heavy-duty dog cages down here that have been here for a long time.
Yeah, big ones, and they're rusted.
Like, all of this imagery and stuff, knowing what happens in the future of this film, is so horrifying.
It is.
Not even knowing what happens, just seeing it for face value first time.
Yeah, it's creepy.
Well,
But
you're thinking about her, like, being in one of those cages, maybe.
Yeah.
Exactly. Somebody's been in those.
So she begins to yell, "Answer me, Keith!" And Keith crawls up to her out of the darkness. He's telling her to shush, like, keep it down. And she's like, "What are you doing?" Like, freaking out a bit. He says, "Someone else is down here. Something bit me. We have to go this way," which is away from the stairs. So at this point, I'm like, this motherfucker's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. He's like a werewolf or some shit. Like, we got some like crazy shit going on. He's just like, there's something. The other thing is him. But he doesn't even know it. Like, that was where my brain was.
Okay.
And it's at this time we reach page 45.
Oh, dear Jesus.
So Krager at this point is like, well, everyone knows that fucking Keith's gonna kill her, and I don't want that. So he's read like David Lynch's like books on writing and stuff like that and everything, and he uses like transcendental meditation while writing scripts, and he's doing that. And while he's like sitting here like, what should happen at this? Big naked lady jumps out of nowhere and kills him. He's like, yeah, that's what we're gonna do. That's what we're gonna do. Let's see where that takes this story, because the story has, like, as he wrote this script, is in order. He didn't outline like, I wanted to go here. He just unearthed it and got it to the end.
So he's a pantser.
Yep.
He does it by the seat of his pants. Okay.
So as I said, a big naked lady smashes Keith's skull into the wall repeatedly.
And it's graphic.
It's very graphic, and it's intense, and it's just repeated smash, 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 smash.
Yep.
We then cut to the Pacific Coast.
I love this. This is so abrupt and completely out of fucking tune.
Sun shining.
I was very confused.
Sun shining. Keith. Justin Long driving a drop top Porsche, singing Ricky Tikki Tavi.
Yep.
And the first time we watched this, I paused the movie, backed out, was like, did something fuck up? Is this the right? This is so like, what the fuck is going on? This isn't the right. Like,
This changed movies.
It's exactly what happens
because Justin Long is not in the trailer. Like, I thought, like, for some reason something fucked up with like the streaming of it, and it was just like, no, we're gonna watch this Justin Long movie, and I was like, no, I wanted to watch Barbarian. But no, we're still watching the same movie. We just have an abrupt cut to the Pacific Coast where Justin Long's character AJ is driving his car, singing, just having a good old time, and he gets a phone call, and it's from what sounds like maybe the producers or his publicist and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it's his publicist. Yeah,
from a show that he's working on. I believe that they've shot the pilot for. And they inform him that AJ has been accused of raping a co-star of the pilot that he was in, and it does not look good for him.
Originally, they don't name it that way. They say that he's in trouble for being sexually aggressive.
Yeah.
And then they kind of build upon that, so they're not just coming out the gate telling you that.
Yeah, because as they kind of build it up and everything, the only thing that he's caring about is the pilot, because they're like, these accusations came out. It's like, wait, like, are they not airing the show? Is this not like, it has not, like, he's so detached from like any like wrongdoing or anything,
and he's just cussing up a storm. Like, he's just so angry at this woman. How dare she could do this to him? And they're telling him then. Go ahead.
Yeah, he's like, I brought her onto the show and everything because they're like, if they do go on with the show, it will be without you. And he's like, I'm fired. I got her this job. Like, I was the first one to sign on to this, and I brought her on and everything. And they're like, he's like, that fucking bitch. Like, there's so much rage in him, and he just keeps saying stuff like, this is being blown out of proportion and all this stuff. And that's when he's like, no, tell me, is she saying I raped her or something? And the guy comes on and is like, yes, yeah, that's exactly what is being said. The voices that you're actually hearing, this is Zach Krager and his wife. They are voicing these people.
Okay. Yeah, and then when they're doing this, then the guy drops like, what, or the girl or guy, I can't remember who, was like, there's other stuff happening, and they drop the story into the news the next day. It's going live, and that's a big deal.
Yeah, it's going to be like in the like some sort of like report. There's going to be an article hitting the newsstands tomorrow about this.
And I think this really sets the stage as to how self-absorbed he is.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
The rest of the movie.
Oh man. Yeah.
As much as I hate AJ in this movie, the fact that Justin Long is playing this character makes it so funny in a weird way, because he was not the original intention for this character when Krager was writing this film. And I'm not disparaging this actor or anything like that, but this was written for Zac Efron. He thought about having Zac Efron as this part, and when Zac passed on it, he decided to try something different. And with the counter casting, as I call it, he's already signed on Keith as Bill Skarsgård as Keith, which you've got a monster playing a good guy, and then he gets Justin Long, who is like this endearing character actor playing this absolute monster of a person.
Yep. That's true, because like everything Justin Long's in, for the most part, he's like the really fun, loving guy that he's charismatic and he's fun and you love him. Yep. And not in this movie.
He loves horror movies, though. He's been in quite a few of them.
Jeepers Creepers.
He was in Tusk. He gets turned into a walrus.
Oh man.
So
he's in Drag Me to Hell. He talks a lot about his love of horror on his podcast.
Yeah, we'll have to do that one sometime, Drag Me to Hell. It's got him in it, and that's done by Sam Raimi, who did the Evil Dead movies.
Okay.
But, so it cuts to him talking to his accountant and basically saying, like, so if you're going to be going through this lawsuit about the rape, and you're going to countersue her for, like, defamation of character and slander or whatever, that's going to be about $140,000 for both court cases, and he will be bankrupt in 3 months with no money coming in at the rate that he is spending.
Yeah.
And he's like, what? Like, so you're saying I got to sell my house and stuff? And this is where this is so different to me because, you know, all my finances and stuff I'm on top of because I'm not a big wig actor and stuff. He doesn't even really know that where his like assets are and stuff. And this is when his accountant tells him like, well, you've got some properties in Michigan that, you know, are like, you can liquidate them and get some money. So he's like, all right, I guess I'm going to have to go to Michigan and do this. And this is when the accountant's like, well, at the end of the week, I'm going to give you your files and everything. He's like, what's that mean? He's like, I'm no longer working for you. So definitely AJ has a black mark on him a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So AJ he's in Michigan now. I believe it's the airport. He's getting into his rental and stuff, and he sees the article about him has been written. And he's getting into his car, and he's talking to his lawyer on the phone and says that, you know, if I could just like talk to her or something, like we could just like nip this in the butt and it'd be done. So he's already just like, it's really not that big of a problem. I can just explain my way out of this.
This is so sleazy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, this dude is just slimy as slimy can be. The lawyer tells him not to talk to the victim, and he's like, well, that's whatever, fine. Well, I'm in Detroit, and he's like, why are you in Detroit? And he's telling them like, well, I'm here to liquidate some items and stuff. I'm not here on fucking vacation. And he's like, you weren't supposed to leave the state. It doesn't look good when you're being investigated for rape and you leave the state. And he's just, again, it's just like, what, am I going to be arrested? Like, still so dismissive about everything, like that he's above it all. So AJ goes to the office of the place that his property goes through and gives the receptionist some attitude when she doesn't know who he is, because he just comes in and is just like, I'm AJ so-and-so, and she's like, what? And like
I don't care.
You haven't seen me in this television show, like that kind of bullshit.
His ego is through the roof.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this is when I find out, oh, we are still watching the same movie, because AJ gets informed that the address of his residency that he owns is 476 Barbary Street. It's like, oh,
and we're back.
This is Barbarian. Okay.
Yeah.
So AJ pulls up to 476 and sees a Jeep out front of his property. And he starts going through the house and everything, and it's not in disarray, but it looks like people have been staying here, and he's just like, what the fuck?
And he's a complete dick about it. My gosh. Like, oh, who dare stay here and leave their shit here? And he has no concern about these people at all. He's just like, well, you made a mess.
Yep. So he sees that the basement door is held open with a chair. So we've seen this. Mm-hmm. And he's annoyed, thinking that someone is staying here. So he calls the company that basically does the upkeep and stuff for his. So he owns the property, but a company takes care of it for him. And he's like, are there people staying here? And they inform him that we haven't had any tenants there for a few weeks. And he's like, well, the house is a mess and there's shit here. Like, do I have squatters? And they inform him that maids don't clean the house until like a tenant is to come. Then they clean it like right before they show up, so it's freshly cleaned. And he still like, well, that's a fucked up way to do things. It's still like just completely just an ass. He's in the bathroom and stuff, and we get some more AJ just being a complete douchebag to his mom on the phone that says that, well, Detroit's only a 4-hour flight. We'd love to see you and everything. So we're basically informed that AJ is in his hometown and didn't tell his parents that he's there. He's just like, his name's in the news, all this shit. His family's kind of worried about him, and he's just like, fuck it, I gotta sell this place and everything. He gets another phone call and basically cuts his mom off. He's like, Mom, I got another business call. I gotta let you go. She's like, okay, I love you. And he just hangs up on her.
Yep.
And I'm not going to repeat how he answers the phone.
No, that was horrible.
But it's one of his friends, and he just goes, "What's up?" And homophobic slur is used as a greeting.
Yep.
And we cut to AJ drinking heavily, it seems, because he seems like he's pretty drunk at a bar, and he's opening up to his friend about raping this girl. The guy that he's opening up to is played by Zach Kreger, our director and writer. And the friend is like, so, like, just tell me, man, like, what happened? And he's just like, she just took some convincing, man. She came around, like, I got the eye of the tiger, She was like, no at first, but, like, after a while, she was into it.
Yeah, no, that doesn't work that way, but sure.
Disgusting.
It's absolutely disgusting. But I think that scene where he's talking about that, where like he's trying to convince her and he's being like coercing and all that stuff, that like that's very common that women go through on a regular basis when you are dating or in that world. So like totally happens. And so I like that it kind of plays into this kind of, it doesn't just say, hey, I raped her, but I actually these steps to get us there.
Well, and that's what Kreger was saying. He's like, I'm not discounting rape victims or anything like that. He's like, but I have a feeling that I would say maybe 75% of rapes are done through coercion and not at knife point.
Oh, absolutely.
Like how he wrote it is extremely realistic.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. And this is going a little personal, and I know this isn't part about the movie, but I remember dating somebody in like my late 20s probably, and he was in the military at the time, and he was a little bit older than me, and I didn't know any better because I was like 19, and he was one of those guys that was just like, oh, come on, and then at some point as a girl and you're alone and they're being very aggressive, sometimes you just kind of go, okay, and I didn't even realize that how horrible that was until the age that I am now, and going, oh wow, that's really messed up, dude. Like, I did not agree to that, but I kind of did because I just let it happen. So yeah, that's what really got me about this movie. That was well portrayed.
Yeah.
We cut to AJ drunk at Barbary Street, and he calls his victim, Megan, and leaves her a voicemail apologizing, kinda,
for upsetting her.
And he says, I'm not even mad at you about the article. And, like, Jesus. there's just two, there's like two different stories.
Yeah, no.
And all this stuff. It's just, previously we'd had Gaslighting the movie. What was that?
Gaslighting?
Does anybody remember?
That was in Strangers.
Oh yeah, that was Gaslighting the movie.
People being in the house. I think
this is like the heaviest.
And also Oculus.
Oculus was got. But man, he was just like,
a lot of them.
It's so much of just like, like, it's okay. And if you would just talk to me, I'll apologize to you again. And you can see, like, he's apologizing because he got found out. He's not apologizing because he's sorry. He's apologizing because there's ramifications, and he's getting emotional about it, not because he feels bad about what he did. He feels bad that what he has, quote unquote, worked for is getting taken from him.
Well, he doesn't even think he did anything wrong. Like, in this whole movie, there's no part of this does he actually feel like a bad person, that he's actually made poor choices. There is a small blip of consciousness, which doesn't even turn into consciousness in this movie with him. But that's it. Like, he is a very self-centered, egotistical man.
And I don't even think the crying is like a genuine cry. I think it's him feigning sadness.
Oh, do you?
Like making himself cry. Yeah. Either that or it's the alcohol.
That's what I thought it was.
There's no way that it's genuine.
I thought it was the alcohol allowing his like fear to show through.
Correct.
Like, that's all I thought it was.
That's what I thought too. Yeah.
We then cut to him waking up hungover, and he's puking in the toilet, and he then begins to go through Tess and Keith's things, at which point he chucks Tess's MacBook, and I was like, hey, no, that's expensive.
Yeah.
So disrespectful.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Because, like, he goes to type her password in, and I don't know if he just types the word password in and it doesn't work. He's like, oh, my hacking skills have been bested once again. Just chucks it.
But that doesn't, at the same time, that all of a sudden, because a woman leaves you, because you see her name or whatever on the computer screen, and then you have a very expensive object in your house, that doesn't make you think, oh shit, something's going on. I should probably call the police or something, because this doesn't make any sense. That just floored me in this movie, because I was like, did this motherfucker really just throw that and then not care?
He says the computer wronged me. This is the computer's fault.
How dare this computer? How dare this computer slander my name?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh my lord.
But,
and not let me in.
So AJ's going through the house, and then he sees that he goes down to the basement because I think he hears like some slamming or something down there. So he gets a knife and a flashlight, and he's like yelling down that I've got a gun, and if anyone's down there, I'm gonna start blasting. Like he's just like
stupid,
super macho, like someone standing out on their front porch yelling about somebody fucking with their Merle Haggard records. Like, who the fuck would do that?
Who does that?
Douchebags, that's who.
Right.
So he goes downstairs and he begins to hear like movement behind the wall. And that at this point, he finds the rope that's on the wall. Because I believe the slamming sound we heard previously is the door shutting.
Okay.
So he goes down there and he pulls the rope because the door was open all the time prior. We hear the slamming, so opens the rope door and begins to walk in. And he's just kind of like Keith says, and Georgina says, or Tess rather, Tess says that guy would just kind of barge in or whatever. So he starts walking in. He finds the VHS room. And we're still mortified by seeing this again, and it just cuts to him Googling if this stuff can be used as added square footage to sell his house.
Yeah.
This is so absurd. Yeah, I love it so much.
He doesn't care about the bed or the nothing, not the tripod, not nothing.
Not the creepy tunnel.
Nope.
He's just gonna keep on measuring everything.
Yep, he's like reading.
He keeps going.
Yep, he's just like reading this, and he's like, "No, it's not considered livable space, but it could be used as extra space, like extra whatever space." He's like, "Yes, awesome!" So he gets the tape measure and literally just starts doing the math. Just how long's this corridor? Oh, how far is this? And he's like literally just like basically like moving the shit bucket out of the way. It's like over by the VHS camcorder. Like, oh, okay, if we carry the 7, it's about this much square feet. Finds the fucking secret staircase,
extra room.
Yeah, the extra room, and we cut to him fucking measuring the staircase. He's like 9 feet. Nice. Like just so
fucked up.
So ridiculous. Yes. So yeah, he's measuring and everything, and he's getting pretty stoked about these tunnels. But the stokedness, his stokedness decreases a bit as he sees a light coming from a room, and it's emitting like a soft music. It's got like a light purple hue coming out of it. As he walks up to it, you see breastfeeding on a TV.
He yells hello first. He yells hello. Like he's acknowledging himself. So I was like, what you're down here, you see these cages, you pass by these, and then you're yelling hello? Who the fuck does that? Like that.
This is America. I pay my taxes. I didn't even know I own this house. Get the hell out of my house.
I mean, he does grab his knife or something. I think he like grasps it a little bit tighter when he sees the light and he yells hello. But at the same time, I'm just like, why would you do that?
I mean, Justin Long is a very scary character. Like, if I saw Justin Long somewhere, I'd be like, whoa, guys, we need to go on the other sidewalk. This guy's the brick shit house over here. So he sees the breastfeeding on this old like tube television, and it looks like an old health VHS. I believe it's called Your Newborn and You is the name of it. And he's like, what the fuck? It's at this point that the tape measure starts to uncoil towards him, so you're hearing the sound. He drops the tape measure, and he freaks the fuck out. He begins to run. Drops the flashlight. The flashlight now is starting to flash because it's kind of fucked up. And we see the naked woman. AJ begins to run away from said naked woman and falls into a hole in the ground. As he looks up, a gate closes on top, and we are reunited with Tess.
Yep. And she's supposed to have been there for like 2 weeks at this point from the sounds of it, or between a week and 2 weeks.
Yeah. So again, we cut. I'm ready for it this time. I'm not checking for another movie. We cut to Barbary Street in the 80s. I originally thought it was like maybe the 60s or something like that. Like just because it like 50s, 60s, it felt like it had like this nuclear family
It
look
does.
and everything. But if you really look at like the cars and stuff like that, it definitely has an 80s feel. The VHSs and stuff like that. But yeah, you kind of get that it's the 80s from when the naked lady, who is credited as Mama, so that's what I'm going to refer to her as from now on, with the time passage of how long and stuff has happened, it's alluded to that it is the 80s.
Well, it also on as soon as that scene cuts, he's getting into the car, he turns his car on in the scene, and it's talking about the Reagan administration on the radio, and then as he's driving to the supermarket. So, like, you're getting a little blip of your timeline by that hint.
So, yeah, it's a beautifully, like, perfect neighborhood, and we're following this man through his daily routine. God, I hope it's not his daily routine, but it kind of seems like it is.
Seems like it.
We follow him through a grocery store, and he asks someone, and he's oh god, he's looking for plastic sheets and baby things, and the lady is like, what do you like, when are you due, blah blah blah, like, what are you going to this hospital? It's like, just real cold, like not in a sinister way. Like, he's not sinister when he's speaking. To me, anyhow.
No, I agree.
But what the fuck do I know? I'm not a woman, and this movie, I guarantee, is 10 times more terrifying for a woman than it is just some dude. But he says that they're having a.
I think we've already.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But he says that they're having a home birth, and she's like, oh, good luck and everything. Hands him a VHS, and this is where you find out the title of the movie that was being shown downstairs is Your Newborn and You. He begins to load up his car, and as he's doing so, he spots a woman loading her blue car. He begins to follow her with his vehicle, so when her vehicle takes off, he begins to take off. He then is waiting near her house, watching her unload her vehicle. Tense music begins to play as he gets a repairman's overalls out of his trunk. He shows up at her house and says that he works for DWP, ma'am, checking for outages. So he says that he's here basically for the gas company, the water company. I believe it's the water because he checks the faucets. Yeah. When he goes to the bathroom to do so, he unlocks the window, goes back out, and drives home. This is horrifying. The way that this is like put together, the way it's shot and follows him through it and everything is pretty fucking creepy. When he gets home, his neighbor comes up and says that, just so you know, there's a sign going up in the front yard. We're going to be moving. The neighborhood's going to shit. And the wife thinks that if we don't sell now, that we won't be able to get out of here next year. And Frank says he's not going anywhere.
Well, this is when we find out his name's Frank, because that's when the neighbor addresses him, and he's like, Frank, and then he's like talking to him all buddy like.
Not Carlos, which is the name on his overalls.
Yeah, so that's when we realize that that's a lie. And the neighbor is also a comedian. That's Kurt Braunohler.
That's who I thought it was Kurt Braunohler.
Yeah, I like him.
I always like him. And the actor that plays Frank, his name is escaping me.
I've seen him in something, yeah.
He's been in Rob Zombie films.
Okay.
I believe he's in the Nicolas Cage movie Mandy. Like, he's got like some street cred when it comes to it. So he definitely is typecasted, which is funny because the other two are not. Mm-hmm. What do you got, Tasha?
Richard Brake.
Richard Brake. There we go. Yeah, so he kind of just has this, like, he just has a look to him that, but he takes his home birth goods into the home, and as he opens the basement door, we can hear a woman screaming. Mm-hmm. And we cut back to AJ and Tess in the hole. So that whole scene in the 80s was the one that the producer was like, it just needs an added layer, and that's what he fucking wrote. And if this movie did not have that scene, I don't know.
I agree.
If we would actually, I wouldn't be interested in talking about it.
That this part builds everything.
Yeah, it brings everything home and makes everything so much more terrifying.
Yes.
Whether you find this to be a scary movie or not, the premise, yeah, like the idea of what is happening here is horrifying. So Tess is telling AJ that he's got to be calm, and if you get upset, she gets upset. And he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Again, just being overly dramatic. And a gnarly baby bottle, comes down through the gate, and she tells him to drink it.
Which he doesn't.
No, he's
like, I'm not doing this.
He's disgusted by it. Tess begins to drink it, and she explains to him that she just wants you to be her baby. He's not having it, and Mama jumps down and is forcing the bottle at him and just keeps going, ba, 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 ba.
And she cuddles Tess at this time. Like, she holds her against her chest and loves her like it's her child.
Another thing that he did not intend for, because she's going ba 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 and stuff like that, because it's a bottle and all that stuff. The reason that the Romans and stuff called the barbarians is because their language to them sounded like nothing but bas and bars, and so they were barbarians. So the fact that that's how she speaks was just another happy accident.
Okay.
So AJ freaks the fuck out, and Mama drags him off to the VHS room and lays him down on the ground and boops his nose.
This is where this movie just lost me. Honestly, where Mama comes out the first time we see her, that was when I was kind of like, okay, what is this?
Yeah, because we haven't really explained, like, Mama is like a 6 foot plus woman with naked sagging boobs, gangly hair, just never seen the sun. It's like me if
like a humanoid.
Me if I was a woman.
Whatever.
Just think of that.
Oh no.
God.
So it's at this time it comes back to Tess climbing out of the hole, and AJ is basically being strangled by Mama as she begins to attempt to breastfeed him since he won't take the bottle. And Tess sees this and is basically just like, nah, man. She walks by the room seeing this, is like, fuck this. Which, good on ya. Go.
He did it to himself.
She trips over the measuring tape, which makes a loud noise, and Mama hears. So Tess climbs out of the basement window, and the homeless man helps her. He explains that you're safe, you got out of there. And she's like, no, I've got a friend down there, blah, 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 explaining. And this is where he goes, she isn't even the worst thing in there, which I think is a very ominous line. And that she comes out at night. So we cut back to AJ in the tunnels, and because he's escaped her as Mama went chasing after Tess. He finds a bell attached to a rope, and he begins to follow it, and he finds another door. As he gets to the door, Mama starts closing in on him, and as she notices the door, she slowly backs away and leaves him be. AJ enters the door, and it cuts to Tess finding a gas station. AJ finds... so it cuts to her finding the gas station. Then it's so much cutting back and forth at this point. AJ finds a disgusting bedroom, trash all over the floor. There's only like a desk lamp and the blue light of a television. And you hear coughing, and it's Frank, 40 years later, lit only by the TV and desk lamp. We then cut back to Tess speaking to some cops. And they basically are writing her off, thinking that she's some sort of junkie. It then cuts back to Frank, like non-verbal, just like ugh stuff, pointing, and AJ's like, do you want water? Gets him some water from the table that's next to him. So he starts drinking that, and AJ's like, I'm going to get out, and there's going to be cops swarming all over this place, and like it cuts to Frank's eyes, kind of like, oh shit, this isn't good. And Frank wants something else. AJ can't understand what he wants and everything, so he just brings him the entire bedside table to him. And Frank begins to get into the drawer of the table. We then cut back to the cops are now in front of the house on Barbary Street, and the cops won't break into it because, she is acting erratic, given the fact that like she's like, there's a person down there and they're killing these people and all this stuff, and given the neighborhood and everything, going back to the fact that they're just like, yeah, okay. Yep. There's a radio call that there's been shots fired, so they're like, all right, we're out, and they just fucking leave her ass there.
That's messed up.
So we then cut to some VHS tapes that are on a shelf by said TV, and I listed a lot of them down. So bear with me. These are the titles of these tapes that I believe came from the rape dungeon room that we have seen a couple times.
There's no believing. That's exactly where they came from.
And he rewatches them, obviously, because his TV's on and it's right next to it. It is so fucking disgusting.
With titles such as Face Scar, Very Old, Asian Biter, Wart Fat, Pregnant, Hitchhiker, Won't Stop Crying, No Teeth, Junkie, Puker, and Blind. So these are the titles.
There was also the redheaded homeless and the cab driver, the liquor clerk.
This dude's just gathering up anybody. Like that's the thing that makes this like terrifying. Is like it's not like it's like I mean, I'm not measuring on bad versus bad. I'm just saying it's not one or two. This motherfucker has a library of rape victims that he has videotaped.
At least 40, because I counted at least that many on there. That's insane.
And this is one of those scenes that brought me back into it. Like at first, when they first found that room, I was like, this seems far-fetched. This guy's just living in a dungeon. Like, how's he getting food, water, blah, blah, blah. Like I started to get the reality part of it. And then it cut to that and I was like, oh shit. And then like all those gross feels.
Yeah. But he like kills them, right? So like that's obvious. But we don't learn anything about that. And then you don't know what he does with the bodies. They don't talk about any of that in this movie. That's not the focus. The focus is just that
he's done this.
Yes. And that he I believe like we kind of allude to, like he has impregnated multiple women in this basement, and he's had multiple children, and there's been inbreeding and like all of this stuff going on, and that is why Mama is the homeless
man explains it.
And that's what I don't understand.
Oh, there you go.
But who's inbreeding? It's him having like him
then
raping
those
a bunch of
babies are
women.
being born, and then he's raping those babies. Yeah.
Oh. Sorry,
everybody. This is supposed to be fun and funny.
Okay.
Yeah.
So AJ pushes a tape into the VCR. And we cut to Tess breaking into the house. It then cuts back to AJ seeing what is on the tape, but not us. Thank God.
Thank you.
Yeah. He goes, what the fuck is wrong with you? And Frank pulls a gun on AJ from the side table. And we cut to Tess getting in the car. And I'm like, awesome, Tess, leave. Get the fuck out of here. And Frank is pointing the gun at AJ, then puts it up to his head and shoots himself in the head. Because what AJ said he was going to bring the cops, and he's not going to be tried for the things that he's done. So he takes the coward's way out.
He's also, like, if you do the timeline and stuff, he's probably in his 60s.
Maybe even older.
Maybe a little bit older.
He looks older with the makeup and stuff they did to him. He looks like he's maybe in his 80s.
Maybe.
He looks like he doesn't get out. He's bedridden.
Yep.
Watching his movies and reliving his glory days in disgusting ways.
So when we thought Tess was going to be leaving, we find out that she just squares the car up to the house. And it's nighttime now, and Mama comes flying out that house, and Tess pins her to the house with her car.
Yep. Yeah, I thought that too.
And we believe that Mama is dead. We cut back to AJ grabbing the gun and goes back into the tunnels with his shitty flashlight. We then cut to Tess returning to the tunnels, and before she can even finish the word hello, we hear pop, and AJ shoots her. Again, I think this would have been an awesome spot to end the film almost, like in a Night of the Living Dead fashion, where your hero is killed, like abruptly, kind of. Like, not that it's like, yay, they killed the only good person in this movie, but just like the abruptness of it and how unfair it would be. But
yeah, that the asshole got to live.
So Tess again begins to lead AJ out of this place. So he's like comes up to her and is gaslighting her on the ground after he shot her. Like, I didn't even see you. You know, like I freaked out, and it doesn't look that bad. I think you'll be all right. Like, gathers her up. Tess is like, we're gonna go this way. She's leading AJ to the homeless man, and they get to, I think it's like the water tower area, and they run into the homeless man that we've seen earlier. And he begins to explain that, she's been there for 40 years. She was born there, raised there. She didn't see the sun until she was a full-grown man. And the homeless man explains how she's a product of inbreeding. Mm-hmm. And it's at this point that AJ has a kind of a redemption arc that is not fulfilled by any means, but he's like, you know what? I might be a bad person, but maybe I'm a good person who just did a bad thing. And Tess is like, so like, why hasn't she fucked with you? And he's like, man, I've been here 15 years and she ain't ever. And then Mama comes Kool-Aid Manning through that wall. Grabs the homeless man up, rips his arm off, and begins to beat him to death with his own arm.
And you like this scene, and I thought this was so stupid.
I love it.
I'm not shocked that Nick liked this.
I love it because it's so stupid. I don't love it. I don't love it because how realistic it is. I love it because of how out of left field it comes. She just bursts through this brick wall, Kool-Aid Man style. Like, oh yeah. Grabs him up, rips the arm off, and not just like one or two. It's like going to town, drumline style, just beating the ever-living hell out of this dude with his own arm.
But up until this point, or the car point where she hits her, like, you believe that this stuff is more believable. And as you get towards the end of this movie, this is what ruins the ending for me. It's because it becomes too over the top that it becomes less realistic.
Yeah.
I don't like
thought
that.
Mama was unrealistic from the gate, like right out of the gate. I didn't think the monster was realistic at all. Like, there's no, I don't see that concept forming that type of creature.
Well, it's kind of explained in the fact that, like, the only thing that she's ever been taught through her entire life is the VHS tape, so motherly affection to give to babies, and the unrelenting torture and punishment of her father. So those are the only things that she knows. So she only knows how to deal with things in two ways: to love things that are giving her love, or to destroy things that are seen as a problem.
And I see that. I get the learning of that. It's her appearance.
Is it the appearance that just throws it all out for you?
Yes.
Yes. I mean,
it would have been so much better if we never saw her.
Okay.
Or just parts of her.
Yeah, or she was like lurking in the shadows, or we saw just the arm drop down and then him getting scuffled away by a shadow of a thing. But
I actually agree. I do agree with that. I think it would be more surprising, I guess.
Yeah, like it keeps in with that, like leaving stuff up to the imagination, like the creepy room.
Yeah.
When they first saw it, stuff like that.
I agree with that.
So after the dude gets played like a drum, AJ and Tess go up to the roof of the water treatment plant,
water tower,
and AJ's not helping.
And he just leaves her.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna say he just like fucking leaves her. He shoots her and is like, "Hey, I'm gonna run ahead of you. Good luck. Peace out."
She's struggling to get up there and everything, and Mama is closing in, and she tells him like, "Get your gun, the one you fucking shot me with."
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh yeah, that thing." He starts fumbling with it, drops it off the fucking roof.
Like he does.
Yep.
Yeah.
And she finally gets to the roof, and he finishes his redemption arc at this very moment.
Oh my god.
He brings it all around. He says, "I can get away from her, but you're gonna have to slow her down." And he straight up yeets Tess off the roof.
Off the roof. Oh my god, yes.
I could not believe that.
Yeah, and when I first saw this, my mouth fell fucking open. I was like, did that really just happen?
What the hell?
So we cut to Tess falling a good 40 plus feet. Our reviewer from previously says 50 feet. We'll take her word for it. And we then get to see Mama swan diving off the top of the roof and basically breaks Tess's fall.
Yep.
Again, AJ comes down, sees that Tess is still alive, laying on her, gaslighting all day. I had no choice. You started to slip.
Yeah, because that's what happened. Yeah.
You were slipping.
Jesus.
You had to have been there. I mean, you were there, but you had to have been there.
Oh my gosh.
So he's doing all this shit and everything. He stands her up, and they're like, "All right, let's get on our way." And Mama stands up and puts her thumbs through AJ's eyes and rips his head in half.
Which again is kind of like that little too over the top for this.
Yeah.
The big thing is that Krieger said that he wanted everybody to understand that AJ is a piece of shit character. He did not want people to be like, well, maybe he didn't rape the girl, or maybe he's like, no, I want him to confess to it at the bar. I want all this stuff. And then when he gets murdered, I want it to be horrific, and I want people to cheer about it, because at the end of the day, I want this film to be entertaining. Because he's like, I'm dealing with some heavy stuff. I still want this to be an entertaining film. This was not the initial idea, though, that he had for what he wanted his kill to be. He said that he basically wanted Mama to grab him by the throat and squeeze his head so hard that it erupted like a toothpaste thing. Like, he just wanted blood and viscera to just explode from his head.
Tasha's favorite thing to ever see.
But
the head ripping apart was bad enough.
It wasn't in the budget. So they found that they had like a mold of Justin Long's head, and they're like, fuck it, we just rip his head in half.
Of course they did.
Which I liked.
Oh, Lordy.
So he's actually kind of let down. He's like, yeah, it's serviceable, but like, I wish there was more blood spray. Like, he wanted it to just be so ridiculous that people cheered when AJ gets murdered.
Yeah, I get that.
Okay, that makes sense, but I still don't like the scene. I would have rather him like have his throat ripped out or something, and then he's bleeding out of his throat. Like, that would have made a little more logical sense, but
logic is out the window.
Exactly.
Well, considering we see Mama rip that dude's arm off and beat him to death, what I wanted was the Hulk and Loki scene from the Avengers, where Hulk just grabs Loki by the legs and just starts smashing him into the ground. That would have been amazing.
That would have been great. Yeah, I agree with that. Well, that's a great scene. Yes. Oh man.
So
as he's rationalizing away everything.
No, I wasn't trying to hurt your baby. She was already dead when I saw her. So and this is where it's like really hard to say that Mama's a monster, because she's just trying to protect her baby, and because she sees Tess as a baby and she's trying to help her, and Tess says again that she can't go back. Like, I can't go back there.
Yep.
And Mama kisses her fingers and puts them on on Tess's forehead and says, baby, and Tess shoots Mama, and we get credits as Tess walks away from Barbary Street.
Yeah, I almost cried in that scene with Mama because it is really heartfelt. Like, she's worried about her. She's like frantic about the bullet wound in her belly, like worried about her. And then she does the finger kissing thing. And yes, I know she's a grotesque woman with her titties hanging out, and she ripped a guy's arm off, and she squished a guy's head, and she's done a lot of horrific things, but like this is what she's been taught to do. And she just wants somebody to love and to love her. And that is the most tragic thing. Like, she is literally the most tragic, sad character in most horror movies I've probably ever seen, just because of that. Like, you can understand her life because of that. It's just very hard. And the biggest villains in this movie were definitely AJ and Frank. Like,
yeah, absolutely. They're two sides of the same coin. Like, when AJ sees Frank and stuff, he's kind of confronted with himself.
Yeah, so like he's yelling at him, calling him gross, and it's like, dude, you didn't go to that degree of like torture and all that stuff and murder, but like you are participating in that behavior.
Yeah, I think the most empathetic character and like the saddest character is AJ's character, because all these people, like, there's two sides to every story. And
excuse me, what?
And you slipped. You slipped. You
were slipping. I just helped you. I was helping you fall off.
This is I would love, this sounds super creepy, so whatever. I would love to be a fly on the wall for like just a bunch of girls watching this film together. Like, they're just like having drinks and just like cheering AJ getting fucking wrecked. Like, I just there's something in my head that's just like, oh, okay, yeah.
But when I first watched the movie, I did wonder at the beginning if he was innocent and like maybe it was being blown out of proportion, because that is like the normal, because he was so angry about it. But then at the same time, you're like, well, maybe he's so angry because he did do it. You don't know. And then until you get the bar scene and he confirms it, you don't realize that he really is the monster.
Yeah.
Like, and he is the bad guy. And like, it's just, and then, like I said, and the other tragic character is freaking Bill Skarsgård's character. Like, he is this genuine nice guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sad that like we don't get to see Keith and Tess's story, because I think those kids had what it took. They had they could have went the distance. But all right, so that's the movie. Let's move on to our final thoughts and reviews on Barbarian. Don't forget, this is a movie club, so after our reviews and stuff like that, we will be telling you what we will be watching for next week's episode.
Also, go to our Facebook or Instagram page and tell us what you think of the movies we're reviewing also.
Yeah,
yes,
give us some recommendations. You can find us on Instagram at Pod of the Dead, underscores between each word. You can find us on Facebook at Pod of the Dead or else. You can email us at podofthedead666 at Gmail. There's a link tree. We've got fucking the
TikTok and everything else.
And we're trying to get some stuff out there and everything. But yeah, send us a line. Tell us how much you hate our opinions. I'd love to hear it.
Oh, Nick.
But let's see here. I'll go first this time because I haven't really hidden the fact that like I would say I love this movie. Does it hit the same the second time? No. Does it hit the same the third time? No. I would compare it to something like The Sixth Sense. The Sixth Sense is one note, though, except for the twist. It is just tension the whole way through and everything that gives it to you. This is a little more up my alley because of the absurdity of it and stuff. I've seen this movie probably 3 times since it come out. I like Zach Kreger. I like The Whitest Kids You Know. I like what he did from a writing and directorial standpoint of it just being so confusing as you're watching it, but it ties itself up. Like, you're like, what the fuck is going on? It's been a long time since I have seen a film that has done this to me and did not leave me confused at the end. It literally tied it up. Whether you like the way it ends or not, except for like maybe like the Lion Tamers thing, it doesn't really leave too much for you to not understand, and like how the bodies are disposed. Beyond that, it's basically thrown out there, and I think it's just expertly put together. I initially, going into this film, gave it a higher score. Watching it slipped a little bit because the tension is removed and everything. But because of that, I do give Barbarian an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think it's beautifully shot, beautifully written. Can't wait to see more of what he has to offer. Hopefully he gets to direct his next film.
Yeah. All right, Tasha, your turn.
All right. It, like Nick said, it doesn't hit the same the second time around, but I want to base this off of I think I'm still going to base it off of my first viewing of it. Mainly because my favorite part are the first 45 pages, and none of that is the same the second time around. So I really like the suspense that it builds. I appreciate the twist of, the Dark Corridor and Bill Skarsgård character getting killed off. I don't like that you see and that's just not my thing in horror movies anyway, is the humanoid monster. That doesn't do it for me. It doesn't scare me. The psychological component of the basement and all of that does it for me a lot more. And then it does start to get just weird, and it goes over the top. And that's just that I get lost really quickly. It loses me in the arm beating scene. I love, just as terrible as Justin Long's character is, the fact that he's so self-absorbed, I find that humorous just because it's so absurd. So I can still see Justin Long, the comedian, in the role that he's playing. So overall, I'm gonna give it a 5.5 because the barbarian aspect of it I don't care for, and that's a big part of the movie. I like all of the lesser components of it. So 5.5 for me.
It's actually a little higher than I thought you were gonna give it.
I was gonna think she was gonna give it between a 5 and a 6, so I was pretty on pot. Yep, that's what I figured. Yep. Okay, so I guess it's my turn. This movie, I was hoping it was going to hit just as well the second time I watched it. It is kind of the one-hit wonder in that, just because it builds so much suspense and questions as you're watching it, and that abrupt scene, like Nick is saying in the middle, about 40 minutes in, you're like, oh shit, this is a totally different movie. And I was there. We did literally turn it off and literally turn it back on to make sure this was the same movie, because it didn't make any sense. And I love that component because it takes this high tension piece and then drops you right into a guy singing on, by the beach. It's just crazy. But the movie itself, like I said, if you watch it the first time, you really do enjoy it, I think. But the second time, it definitely lowered my love of it, only because it's not rewatchable, in my opinion. I feel like you just don't get to have that same experience. And then if it was like a movie like Trick or Treat or some of the other movies we watch, even like Scream, where you know what's going to happen and you're not going to have that tension, but you're still going to be finding the Easter eggs, and you're going to still be finding these little bits and pieces of the storyline that you're going to appreciate more or see that you didn't see before. That didn't happen for me this time. It was very, other than we paused the movie just for this podcast in order to see the names on the VHS tapes and stuff. But apart from that, I really like the movie. I do think it's great for people to see. And it's definitely unique in its own way, and it's not predictable at all. And I agree with Tasha, the ending with the head and the arm beating and all of that. I'm not a person that says stuff's too gratuitous, but that was just kind of really. And I like the mama character. I just didn't like that aspect of her. I would say that if I'm going to rate this, what am I going to rate it? I would give this probably a 7.
So what does that give us for our total?
Gives us a 68.
60. Hey,
so it's
passing. It's a pass.
That's higher than I expected it to get.
It's a pass. So I honestly think that a passing grade is. I always want to say that our collective numbers, when given, if it's above an F, so what is that? No, realistically,
6. I agree.
Was that 66 or 67?
I have no idea.
It doesn't matter. None of this matters. But if it has it's pass fail, I think, if you're just looking for something different, this is different. Give it a shot. Not saying you're going to like it, but you don't know until you try.
Yeah, the acting's really good in this movie. Like, hands down, the acting's amazing.
I will probably never watch this movie again on my own. I am going to suggest this movie, though, for people who haven't watched it and watch it with them to talk about it afterwards.
Correct. Yeah, it's definitely a movie to suggest to people, but definitely not to rewatch.
Yeah.
And to make sure you tell them to go in blind, because I remember you did that, Nick. You said, don't look up anything, don't watch anything, just start it and go. Yep. Which I appreciate that you did that.
Yeah. And that's how I kind of go by most of my movies. If I see a trailer, it's on accident. I don't look out trailers. I'll hear a title of something and read a synopsis of like what the film's supposed to be about, because those are so vague. It's like, like this one, it's like an Airbnb gets double booked. Granted, if I just read that, I probably wouldn't have watched it, because I would just been like, okay, whatever, same tropey stuff, which is what you are led to believe. And it's amazing that he subverts that.
Yes. I like when they do that. I don't want stuff handed to me. And that's what I think is beautiful about this movie, just the way it was marketed and the way it's been played out, is because it doesn't allude to anything else. Most movies, in the trailer or in anybody's conversation about it before you even go in, they tell you every freaking thing that you're going to see.
Yeah, Drew and I have started, as soon as a movie looks good, as we're watching the trailer, we stop the trailer and then go start watching.
Well, and so many trailers will be shot specifically to be a trailer with scenes that aren't even in the movie. And stuff like that. I don't fucking like trailers. It just bothers me.
The only time they don't bother me is like when you would call it the popcorn movie, right? Yeah. So like you already know basis. Like if you are watching an Avengers film or something, any of the Marvel universe, you kind of know what you're gonna get. And watching that isn't going to change anything, because you're already invested in just seeing it as a popcorn movie and experience its ebbs and flows. But like apart from that, you're not looking for anything. But stuff that has suspense or horror or things like that have really deep builds, like romance doesn't count either most of the time, only because you already know what it's going to happen.
Mostly like mysteries, thrillers, horror films, like you don't want to see a trailer for it, because a lot of the selling point for those movies is the mystery, the shock and awe. And if those are going to be the things that you show in your trailer, what are we fucking watching this for? So, all that being said, next week will be it'll be Halloween for our next episode, which will drop on, I believe, the 30th. So for that episode, we will be doing a double feature. And for this double feature, we will be watching Sam Raimi's Evil Dead 2, and we will be watching Freakin's fucking classic, The Exorcist. So
I'm nervous about that one.
That's gonna be really good. So Freakin just passed away not too long ago. So what the hell? My phone's going off and it's going through my headphones. Freakin just passed away. He's an amazing director and all that stuff. It's been a long time since I've seen The Exorcist. I've seen it a few times. Evil Dead 2 I have watched plenty, and actually still have my original VHS copy of it that I bought at the at our local library when we were children, Tasha. Nice. I watched this
when we were children.
I watched this in your bedroom on your VHS combo.
Nice. My TV, VCR, got for Christmas.
Yep. So
was it like 13 inches?
Oh hell yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Oh, you know it, baby. It was 13 inches. So
oh my god. On that note,
for Pot of the Dead, I am Nicholas.
I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Natasha.
Come back and listen to us. Or else.